are confirmed that the annual meeting are posted on the public bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center and published in the record within the first 10 days of the new year. Notice of this meeting via the May 21, 2021 Sunshine Notice has been sent to the Record Suburbanite Northern Valley Press and has been posted on the bulletin board and borough website. Okay, so this is the committee of the whole agenda. And the first item on this agenda tonight is presentation of a cannabis discussion. Jimmy, you want to lead us through this? You are there, Jimmy, right? Okay.
You hear me?
Yes. I know that we've gotten public comments in so far. We've been receiving public comments on this topic.
Sorry, I'm having some issues on my end. I'm not sure if you could hear me.
We can hear you just fine. Can you hear us? We can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me, Jimmy?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Omar.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I can try to tee it up as best I can.
Go ahead.
Okay. So the governing body, at our last governing body meeting, decided to post the cannabis fact sheet on the website to solicit comments from residents to provide feedback in regards to cannabis in our borough. So as of Friday of this past Friday, we received 11 comments from residents to various degrees of whether they approve with the idea of having cannabis sold in the borough or if they disapproved of it. So tonight's discussion will allow the residents to voice their comments and concerns in a public forum.
And Omar, you said you've received 11 emails so far to date?
To date, yes.
Okay. And I did notify, in the past 2 weeks on both Fridays, as the council had, we discussed, I included information about soliciting the residents' cannabis comments and concerns and comments, and both of my most recent Friday announcements. I'll do so again this Friday. All right, so council members have comments or any topics on this topic they'd like to go around with before we start opening up to the public? Hands up.
I think we wanted to hear from the public.
Okay, all right. So Omar, let me know if there's any members of the public who have their hand up, or if you can't see their hands, people can just kind of jump in and start talking, and I'll recognize whoever I hear first.
Okay, we have Miss Christine Evron first.
Hi, thank you.
Christine Evron, address, please. Your address on Leroy Street, please.
39 Leroy Street. I got a feeling I've spoken too much. Christine Evron, 39 Leroy Street. As a resident, I've gone to several seminars with out-of-state speakers on cannabis sales in Colorado. I was concerned because of my Chamber of Commerce connection. I also have a mother who uses chocolate cannabis products for pain relief and relaxation of muscles. I am really annoyed that I would have to go over to the next town and buy a legal product. I think that throwing away the revenue from Tenafly dispensaries is a little crazy when it's legal, and everything that was presented said problems were at borders. So if we're going to be surrounded by towns that elect to do cannabis dispensaries, the problems will be they clear out of the town where it's the dispensary is, because they don't want to have the alert cops to that, and they congregate in the next town over, was what I heard reported. They're my comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Christine. Okay, any other residents, Omar, who would like? I know a couple of people just recently joined. For their benefit, we're in the middle of public comments regarding cannabis, and anyone who'd like to voice their opinion is welcome to do so regarding cannabis sale and distribution in Tenafly. Anyone else out there, Omar?
I see no other hands, Mayor.
No other hands. Okay. Do we have any comments, questions from the council? Vanu, is your hand up? You're muted, Vanu. Vanu, you're muted.
If it's okay, since we do have the chief on the video, maybe he might just voice a few words. I don't know if he wants to.
Sure, Chief.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for inviting me this evening. I've been in touch with councilman, a couple of council people, Michaels, about my input, and I believe it was posted maybe somewhere. So, but basically, he asked me how I felt about it, and I'm well aware something, obviously something the state has made legal. I think some residents are misguided where they think this, that basically the town bans the sale of it, that people can't have it, possess it in town. That is incorrect. People are going to be able to possess it legally in town. They're also probably going to be able to also have it delivered to their home in town, from out of town dispensaries if the town doesn't do that. And it's coming. The train has left the station, so we're going to have it. And I'm not really sure how many dispensaries are going to be allowed. Something initially, there's a finite a number. And I do think it's something that Tenafly maybe at some point in time wish to do that. My only concern was that I like to learn from the mistakes of others, and I kind of almost wanted to let some other towns do it first. More so maybe the cities, maybe the Anglewoods or the Garfields or the Hackensacks of the county, and let's see basically how they fare and the problems they have, and so we can kind of go out something with with a little more experience and be educated way. That's just how I feel. So I don't want to be the first out of the gate and have the problems. I did do some research on other states. That's best that I could. A lot of dispensaries, and actually I did pass by one time up in Canton, Massachusetts, while visiting my daughter at the University of Rhode Island, and I just went over to the border of Massachusetts. There's like an armed guard standing outside. I'm not saying that would be the case, but security is a concern, and security guards are apparently something usually posted inside there. Yes, Daniel. You're muted.
When you're done, I just wanted to ask you a question.
Okay. So we know people smoke marijuana. We know that they're already smoking it now. I'm not sure if even myself, just anecdotally, I've been smelling it in my neighborhood. People, I was smelling it more. People know that it's legal. By legalizing it, usage does go up. We do know that, but again, we're not going to change that. It's going to happen. I'm just going to limit it to, again, something. If it comes to town, obviously we're going to find a way to coexist with it and manage it. I just would like to not be the first beacon out there that basically everyone's racing to buy this product. Something I think if you wish to do it, you'll have ample time to do that. But I would rather some other bigger venues do that first, so we can kind of take notes and be more prepared.
Lauren, you have a question? I'm sorry, Manu, you have a follow-up, and then Lauren?
Yeah, just a quick question. Do we know what direction other nearby towns are going in? I mean, because we do have a kind of a deadline of what we need to do, and this is true for all towns. It's not just for our town. So if we if it turns out that 5 of the other towns are doing it, we won't be first out of the gate. Does that make sense?
That's correct. I'm not aware. I believe Garfield was interested. I did read that somewhere also too. And again, I know there's a revenue issue here, something that, and there's a concern there. But again, it can be delivered to town, so people can still get it in town. It's basically like a food delivery. But also too, there are some limitations. I believe there's some, I mean, you can't just go anywhere. There's something there basically, 1,000 foot from school zones and things like that. So, I mean, obviously there are places in town that fall within those locations. It's not just, you can't just go anywhere. But I'm not really exactly sure on the other towns. I do know, I did do some reading also too, that while a large portion of the population was in favor of it, a lot of towns are opting out. So even though the majority of people in these towns may want it, I think the towns are a little tentative right now. They know it's coming, but everyone's like a little. We're all change, something that doesn't come so easy. I think that's what it is. We've been ingrained to having it. We leave it for so long, it's kind of a little hard to digest. It's gonna be legal right now, so I think that's some of the hurdles.
I just meant, like the Englewoods and Bergenfield, but I guess you haven't heard anything.
No.
Garfield is a little far away.
Venu?
Yes.
Go ahead, then Lauren.
Lodi is probably going to do it off certain other highways.
Mhm.
They're going to zone it on their highways, Lodi.
Right, 46.
Jimmy, just to Vanu's point, Jimmy, it might not be a bad idea to reach out to the administrators in our 4 or 5 surrounding towns that border us to get a better understanding of what everyone's thinking of doing.
Okay, no problem.
And then we can report back to the council on that. Lauren, please.
Chief, thank you for being here this evening. My question really is more for your force. If we're going to have drivers that will be high or that will have smoked, do we have a protocol in place for traffic stops, for regular driving, for anything like that, when there's pot, not alcohol?
Yes, and again, the impaired driving is very similar to driving while intoxicated. They still have to go through the test that we would do would be the standardized field sobriety tests, with the walk and turn, the eyes, moving the eyes and things like that. And the challenge that we have is that while many officers are certified in the alcohol test machine, which obviously which measures alcohol content and blood levels, we can bring it to the police department for those purposes. The way that you actually determine if someone is actually impaired on drugs is through drug recognition expert, DRE. We don't have any in town. We did have some a couple of years ago. I'm looking to get someone actually recertified in that, but there are DREs that are on call in the county and the state police, and you can get them. It's just a little bit more of a process, but yes, there are ways to identify it. It's not as easy as the intoxication, but yeah, it's a concern of ours. Our officers are trained to detect impairment, but when it comes to proving it, it's a little more challenging.
So would you recommend waiting until we have, sorry, you said DRE, is that?
Yeah, they're called drug recognition experts, DREs. But even if we get one, I mean, where the officers, I can borrow one from another town. That's not really a concern. We can get a DRE. We don't have to have one in town. So we do have the ability to test these individuals.
I'd like to follow up with Lauren's question. So there isn't like a test, right? Like something that a driver could breathe into, right?
Not certified in New Jersey right now. I know that there are some companies that are racing to try and invent that. But in New Jersey, something New Jersey's, anything past the certified in New Jersey takes a long time. If in fact that when that comes, it would be rolled up by state police as a pilot program, and then ask for FRI hearings. I use them to be scientifically, reliable. So it would be a long way out, but I do know that there are companies that are looking to get a device that can actually measure THC nanograms in your blood level. Some states have laws on per se nanograms, and so the one challenge with driving while impaired is that if alcohol has a burn off rate of I think 0.15% per hour, and it just burns off and it's gone. So you could smoke marijuana yesterday, the day before that, it's still going to be in your system. And what level of nanograms is something are in your blood. Now, the marijuana's gotten a lot stronger these days, so that the contents can only be a little higher. But some states, I've been surprised to have actually a per se where basically if you test it as a blood draw or something along those lines, there's a certain level in it, they're determining that you're impaired based upon that. So you can't claim that you smoked it the day before. New Jersey's far away from that. That could be forthcoming. But, the technology, getting back to your initial question, there is technology I think they're developing, but we don't have it yet.
Questions from the council members?
Hi, if I may. I'm sorry to interrupt. My name is Alex. I actually
Go ahead, Alex.
BD in town. We recently opened up.
Just Alex, I gotta interrupt you for a second, just to give us your full name and your street address and where you live, please.
Absolutely.
Then go ahead.
Absolutely. I'm sorry. Alex Aiken. I live at 56 Merritt Avenue in Cresskill.
Go ahead, Alex. Thank you for
So,
joining us.
absolutely. Thank you for having me. So what I wanted to say, it is a great opportunity as a business operator to have a dispensary and to run a dispensary. It's very profitable, not just for the operators, but for the towns because of the tax revenues. That being said, as much as I'm all for having a dispensary in town and possibly being operator of one, the only issue that I see is zoning, which is huge. I know other dispensary owners and operators in different states, and they are in commercial areas. They are far away from schools. That's the only thing. And I've been all over Tenafly. I don't know where that would come into play, where there is such a location, possibly by Retro Fitness in that area. The other thing is armed security. There will have to be an armed security guard at the door during business hours. That's a mandate. If whoever applies for a license of a dispensary, they have to get a bond from an insurance company. That bond will require an armed security guard to be at that door for everybody to be proofed 21 and over, and that's how it works. I'm very big on that. Listen, to sell CBD in the state of New Jersey, you have to be 18 years old. Excuse me, not to sell, to buy CBD in the state of New Jersey, you have to be 18 years old. As a business operator, I will not sell it to anybody under 21. I just don't want to have that headache. It's not worth it for me. So those are my thoughts. As far as I'm concerned, I'm all for it. I would love the opportunity in town to operate this type of a business. Again, there's a lot of variables at play, minors, zoning, and everything else that comes with it. So I just wanted to express my opinion and, help out in any way I can.
So Alex, could you, and then Lauren, just to expand a little on this requirement, what is the requirement regarding having an armed guard? We don't have armed guards at pizzerias or delis that have a lot of cash. What's the situation?
Here's the situation. Marijuana is not legal on the federal level. Banks are not allowing dispensary owners to process payment by credit cards. So everything is taken in by cash. In order to get the bond and the license, one of the requirements in other states, and I don't know how New Jersey is going to play out with all the requirements, but you do need an armed guard, and that's to be provided by the operator of the business. That's for the safety of the business. That's all that's there for. That's added protection. Right now, my store, I would say we do 90 to 95% of our sales by debit and credit card. Nobody uses cash. If a dispensary opens up, it's going to be 100% cash until marijuana is legal on the federal level in every state, and the banking commission opens it up where dispensary owners can accept credit cards.
So that begs the following question, not to have a whole detailed thing about the cannabis business, but if there was a cannabis store in Tenafly, Cresskill, that sort of thing, what kind of revenue do they generate? You know, there's this conversations, a couple of people talked about the 2% tax that the town will get. What kind of magnitude are we talking about? So everyone is
We're
just
talking
educated on
about
the topic.
revenues for a business. I've seen, like I said, in other states, and I'm going to use California as an example because I have a lot of friends out there that operate these businesses. They were talking about revenues in the millions the first year. In the millions. I'm going to be lucky. I'm going to be honest with all of you guys. I'm going to be lucky to break 100,000 in sales my first year in business. If this was a marijuana dispensary, my revenues would be, I would say, 4 or 5 million plus the first year.
Okay. All right. Any questions by council members? Lauren?
So, Alex, I know you are on our main street, and I always appreciate our downtown business owners. But exactly to your first point, I wanted to raise this for zoning. You know, we in the center of our town are near churches, religious centers, and schools. And so where Planet CBD is may not get zoned to be a dispensary. I mean, I don't know yet.
I
Clearly,
agree
we haven't even
Yeah.
decided. Would you, as a business owner, need to then move your store? Would you then, you know, I'm curious to know where you would invest within our town, because what I don't want to do is push away our existing businesses.
I'll be glad to answer that. Planet CBD is my main business. I'm looking to expand operations. I'm looking to open stores in different towns throughout New Jersey and Florida at this point. So that store is going to stay where it is. That's my flagship store. If a dispensary comes into the picture, that would be an additional business. It would have nothing to do with Planet CBD. Planet CBD is not going anywhere as far as I'm concerned. That's my baby and that's staying put.
Okay, great. And I do want to say I appreciate the brand new sign. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. Yeah, anything I can do to brighten the street up.
Are there any other members of the public out there? We'll just get on that topic for a second. Omar? No?
I have a Christina, her hand is raised.
Okay, bring her in, please. Let her speak. Hi, Christina. How you doing?
Hi, Mayor. This is Christina Hart. I'm at 55 Hillside Avenue.
How you doing tonight, Christina?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to first comment on the cash aspect of the business. I have seen in certain dispensaries in Massachusetts and other states where they are allowing debit cards to be utilized like a cash type transaction. Obviously that doesn't preclude the need for security, but that is an evolving part of this business and one that is being addressed in, you know, different markets, that if Tenafly does look to have its own dispensary, you know, could be handled in that respect. But what I wanted to mention was just that, you know, my sense in the community is that there's a broad, you know, but quiet support for allowing a retail and delivery service in Tenafly. And I think that, you know, from doing my reading in the legal world and just being connected to accessing this type of information and what the law is allowing, or what our state government is allowing for us, is that there are types of licenses that essentially our community would be able to allow, similar to a liquor license. So, you know, essentially there's like a retail shop, there's a delivery option, there's a growing license. So, you know, we have the opportunity here, if we don't necessarily feel like a retail is the right decision, there are other avenues to take advantage of this tax benefit of having this type of business. So, I think that the council should think about that and look into that aspect of this. I also want to just capitalize that, we are a very liberal community in this corner of New Jersey. I think that we have a reputation for that, with being sort of the founding spot of the women's voting movement. We have a pride celebration. And I think there's a way to really put Tenafly on the map in a bigger sense, with our, access to 9W. I just think we have a wonderful opportunity to really make our town be on the map for this area of New Jersey in a really special way, and bring business and money to our downtown that desperately needs it. And that's really all I wanted to say.
Okay, thank you, Christina. Appreciate your time. Okay, any other public comment out there, Omar?
See no other hands, Mayor.
Pardon me?
I see no other hands.
No other hands? Okay. All right, we're going to close public comment on this. Council members have any final discussion items? Or we'll move on. I'm not seeing any hands up or voices.
Jeff,
Okay.
Jeff wants.
Jeff.
Oh, Jeff, sorry, I couldn't see you. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah,
Please.
the only thing I want to say is I really appreciate the public input. And that's what we were looking for, and we've received some through responding to the fact sheet that the town put out. We've had 3 of you come out tonight to talk about this, and it is helpful, and that's what we're looking for. And I certainly have been a strong advocate over time for at least the public weighing in. There is one thing I want us to remember, and this goes actually to Councilmember Dayton's question to the chief. I do want us to remember, no matter what we decide, allowing, not allowing, dispensaries, anything, that really doesn't impact people driving through the town. People can, if we don't allow it here, they can purchase it elsewhere and drive through the town, and those questions that was asked to the chief get raised. Or if we do allow it here, they can buy it here and still be driving through the town. I don't think that's going to change very much, depending on what we do. And I do appreciate Christina's comment, Hart's comment on the different types of licenses. One of the problems I think we would face in Tenafly is the warehousing, from what I understand. We don't have that kind of space, and short of taking over the nature center and growing it there, I don't think we actually have room to grow it. So I think we are limited to some combination of delivery or retail sale. I could be wrong on that. And we are looking at the numbers. I liked Alex Hakeem's comment about if he were opening, it would be $4 million of business, which if we went to the max, and there's no requirement that a town go to the maximum 2%, that would generate $80,000 a year in revenue for the town, based on that number being accurate, and that's with our $30 million budget. So it would make a difference, but it's not going to solve all of our financial. We're not going to be able to sit there and say, okay, we're eliminating taxes for our residents. But again, great comments, great input, and that's what we were looking for. So thank you.
I agree. Just to be fair, the increase that we get, we don't raise our taxes. We is 1%, right? A year or 2%. So $80,000, $100,000 is actually a huge part of a potential increase. But I agree. And if we were to take this, want to go forward with it, we do have to do the economics. I think it's a very good use of time to think about the economics as one component of the broader conversation. Absolutely.
Right.
And hopefully we'll have much more public comment input on this topic.
Can I build off what Jeff said?
Go ahead, Dan.
So Jeff was worried about warehouses. What the fact sheet didn't have was there's going to be things called a micro license. of all 6 licenses, which will be licenses. So if someone from Tenafly wanted a license, they can have their store within the borders or on the border, towns on the border of Tenafly. And they can't have more than 10 employees, and those 10 employees have to be within the borders of Tenafly. So let's say someone wanted to get a cultivator license, a micro license, they could do it in a small area if they wanted to. It's not, you don't have to think the big picture, like they're going to have a farm growing it. There's going to be sizes, scales. A retail store could be the size of a hut, or it could be the size of CVS. It's just many possibilities.
Interesting. Okay. Any other comments from council members? Okay. Thank you, everyone, for that input, especially the public. We appreciate it. Okay, so the next item to be considered is National Gun Violence Awareness Day proclamation. Lauren, did you ask for this to be put on the agenda?
I did.
Please.
Me too, yeah.
Okay.
You know what, Julie, I talk about it every year. You want to do it?
No, just that, June 4th is Wear Orange Day. And the reason why, that Moms Demand Action, is the group that helped present a few weeks ago at the meeting that Lauren arranged about gun safety, and the importance of anyone who has a gun, keeping it secure away from children. They have an annual Wear Orange. I'm getting like an echo, by the way. I don't know. They have an annual Wear Orange Day to promote awareness about gun violence. And basically, they pick the color orange for a few reasons. One is that's the color that hunters wear so they don't get shot in the woods, because, it's almost like bringing it to the fore about how dangerous our streets, can become with unfettered access to firearms. But also, it was the favorite color of this girl who got killed in Chicago. And that's why Wear Orange, it kind of grew from that. And, it's just raising awareness about our epidemic of gun violence in America. And this resolution, is to, hopefully help us, create an environment where we have a more safe attitude toward firearms. But I'll let Lauren take it away.
It's incredible, Julie, because when I wrote this a couple of years ago, and we've been acknowledging Gun Violence Awareness Day here in Tenafly, but since then, the gun violence in all of our communities and all of our world nationally has just exploded. And on the eve and the passing of George Floyd, we have to acknowledge the violence that is, just become so prevalent. And so not only do I want to recognize National Gun Violence Awareness Day, and for Hadiah Pendleton, who this is named after, but I want to recognize the hateful rhetoric and the anti-Semitism and the hate crimes that are just rising in our community. And, as a result, the guns are being used more frequently, more openly, more bravely, I think, to cause violence. And I think this day, as we enter into June 4th, really should be a moment in our community to recognize gun safety, common sense gun measures, like we said, like Mom's Demand came, and I thank our police chief for helping us with that, and our force for common sense measures here. So, I hope that everyone wears orange on June 4th. I think, we'll try to get stuff out. We at some point wanted to, have orange balloons, but that was not environmental. So orange ribbons. So maybe on the 4th we can, as a borough, find a way to acknowledge this within the downtown as well. Thank you.
Jimmy, is the council in favor? Is everyone in the council in favor of this proclamation? Okay. Hearing no negatives. Jimmy,
Yeah.
so do we have another council meeting between now and June 4th? No, we don't, do we?
15th is the next meeting.
June 15th.
So let's put this on the council agenda as a proclamation anyway for, it will have taken place on June 4th, but we'll acknowledge it. It'll be in the record and it'll be there ready to repeat again next year.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll do that proclamation at the end of the next public council meeting. Okay. Thank you, Julie and Lauren, for that. Okay. DJ Park event. Jimmy?
Nope, that's me.
Yep.
Go ahead, what?
That's me. The Green
Oh,
Team
go ahead, Dan.
and the Rose Garden Club want to do a grand opening / celebration of the garden, the Rose Garden, because they got delayed last year due to obvious reasons. I was hoping the council would waive the permit fee for them and allow light snacks.
Sure. Who's sponsoring this?
The
Garden Club.
Rose
Garden Club,
Garden
right?
Club and the Rose Team and members of the Green Team.
Council, everyone good with that?
Yes.
Everyone good? Yep. Okay. There you go, Dan.
Omar, can you send a note to Carol Hodges, please?
Absolutely.
And just Dan, for everyone's benefit, what's the date of that event again?
June 5th, next Saturday, and I got to get the time from Carol.
Okay.
I'll email to everyone once I get it.
Thank you. So hopefully we could all attend that June 5th. Okay, great. Thank you.
It's at 1 o'clock, I believe.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're 1 p.m. on June 5th.
1 p.m.
The day after Adam's birthday.
Happy birthday, Adam. Okay, next topic, in-person mayor and council meetings. I know that as a council, we talked about sometime in June. Jimmy, you want to talk to us a little bit, with preparation? You want to talk to us a little bit about our progress on this topic?
Yep. So I was working with Mr. DiGregorio at the school, who kind of helps and assists with our audio and visual for our meetings. And he was able to give us a quote and just a kind of outfit of what we would be looking at to make the council chambers so we could have hybrid meetings in the council chambers. There's a couple of pieces of equipment needed. So that's about $2,500, $2,400. Additionally, we would need, just going off the safety precautions, we would need the plexiglass barriers. Getting 13 of those would be about $1,500. And then the rest of the protocols can easily be adjusted and handled in terms of signing in, temperature checks, whatever the mayor and council feels appropriate. But the one difficulty we have with this is that there is no room on our data switch. We would need some room on our data switch to add these pieces of equipment. It's on our capital budget to expand and add the data switch. So right now, unfortunately, we have 0 ports to allow for this. We would need probably anywhere between 2 and 4, probably about 2 at least for this, to add these pieces of equipment to make it hybrid meetings.
The data switch is
data switch. Yeah, what is that?
Wait, before you answer that question, Jimmy, the data switch is in the budget though, right?
Capital budget, correct? Yes.
And the estoppel period ends next week sometime?
Yes.
Susan, if you could speak to that.
Next Tuesday or Wednesday?
Tuesday, yes.
Okay, Tuesday. Okay. Go ahead, Jimmy. Could you just explain the data switch, please, for the councilwoman?
Yep. So the data switch is a piece of equipment on our RT infrastructure. So pretty much a lot of items are running over the internet and the Ethernet cord. So our telephones, printers, pretty much everything is running through Ethernet cords and has to run through the through the network and through the data switch. So every time you add a telephone, for example, like a desk phone, it runs over Ethernet on the internet on the network. So you need a port on the data switch to add that to allow to have internet access. So as you go along through the years, you keep expanding, and everything's running over the internet. You take the available room on your data ports and data switches. So at some point when you have to keep expanding to allow to add more ports as you expand projects, and everything switches over to the internet. So right now we're currently at 0, and we actually have printers that we would like on there as part of the printer upgrade and printer contract we've had. So in the capital budget, that's got the stop periods over next week. We added funds in there to expand, so we'd have 48 more switches. I believe it's 48 or 50 switches or so, or ports rather, being added to our network. So that would allow for a lot more flexibility to add these type of projects and to add more technological items as we expand and move towards the future.
Any other questions from the council?
So that plexiglass, that would be for our meetings, the plexiglass you were talking about?
Yeah, so they would be on the dais, and for any other meetings, any other various boards, commissions, to make them feel comfortable. They're easy to move to the U shape, so they're easily you can move them. Because they're in the U shape, they're easily moved, and that's it. So yeah, they would be for the safety and comfort of council members and the this council and any of the other boards that would like to hold in person or hybrid meetings.
Yeah, it looks like, and the planning board, by the way, is moving in that direction. They're polling they're polling the planning board members, and moving in that direction also. All right. So everyone's good with that? We're targeting sometime late June, but some of it's this date's going to be dependent on the safety issues, the technology getting done. That could wind up sliding, but hopefully we get this, all this done as soon as possible, Jimmy.
Correct. Yeah, the Board of Ed, who handles our IT, is aware, and once we have the funds approved for the capital budget for that project, we have the green light for that. We have the vendor ready to send the equipment over, and we'll be we'll steam ahead to get that added.
But just to be realistic, I understand we have to move at the pace we have to move, but so if we have to get approval for the capital budget first, that's going to be quite a while, right? When do we?
Capital, if I can interrupt you for a second, the capital budget's already approved.
Oh, we approved it last week.
Right, we're waiting for the estoppel period to end on Tuesday, and Wednesday, Jimmy and Susan can go out and get this done. We can't execute on the capital till Tuesday, but you've already approved it.
So then after the June 15th meeting, there's a June 29th meeting, would be the next time that hopefully we can get this done in advance, because then it's not until July 19th, right? Because
no, going to them. There's no additional council meetings necessary. This is already approved.
No, great. I'm saying when we could start to do this in.
Okay.
The next council meeting is the 15th. That's not likely. Right. The 29th is a possibility. If not, then it's July 19th. Yeah.
You're talking about installation on this.
Correct. Exactly. Yeah, I just want us to put some dates on it, because I know we always, if we don't have some firm dates, we tend to slip. So it's just
fair enough.
helpful. Yep. Cool. Thank you.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is the downtown revitalization plan consultant, the submissions and the resolution. Adam, you go ahead. Adam, Jeff.
Else? Yeah, I'm happy to start, and I'd love Councilman Grossman to add it as well.
Okay.
So I do want to recognize first just the committee that put this together, and I'm so thankful. Mary Beth Wilmot, who wasn't able to join us today, as well as David Jang. Craig Feinberg is on the call, as well as Daniel Zausner, and then it was a number of council folks, Jeff and myself, and the mayor. Again, we've spoken as a council about this already around the process. We got 7 submissions in. We interviewed 3. But if I can, I'd love to ask Mr. Zausner if he could, just give the council some flavor as to how the process went and what ultimately the council, the committee decided, if you can, Mr. Zausner.
Thank you, Councilmember Michaels. And I don't want to forget this, but kudos to Jimmy for kind of corralling us all and making all this possible, because it's not an easy task to go from 7 to 3 and then to set up those 3 interviews and then everything that went into the process. So really appreciate everything Jimmy did to help make this possible. But to Adam's point, there were 7 people who bid on it from a group of, I think, about 17 or 18 that we had sent out initially. And that was overwhelming that level of interest was there, because quite frankly, it did go to a rather large group of entities that this would be considered a small scale project, but yet they all did their due diligence. They all visited the town. They really spent the time necessary to not just submit a cookie cutter approach. BFJ, DMR, and WSP, the 3 finalists, clearly rose above all the others. And what we liked about that mix before we interviewed them was that both BFJ and WSP are a larger scale New York City-based entity, and DMR was a much smaller scale New Jersey-based entity. So we were going to see, I don't want to call it a mom and pop versus a large-scale company, but clearly 2 different perspectives. And to Adam's point, last Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we met with all 3 of them. And quite frankly, DMR's presentation was not strong. I think their written presentation might have even been stronger than their oral, but it made it very easy to go down to 2 bidders. And both were eminently qualified. Both showed, while even though they are very large scale companies, that they could work within the budgets we had for them. And BFJ just rose above WSP. It really comes down to the personalities and the people that would be involved with the project. And the due diligence they did was really incredible. It was almost as if the amount of work that BFJ put into their presentation was almost as if they felt that they were awarded the work already and they started working on it, because they did so much work before they even put pen to paper in terms of the time they spent in the community. And it didn't hurt that one of the principals in charge of the project is someone who grew up in Tenafly, so there was an incredible amount of passion in this particular project. So not that it was an easy decision to go with them over WSP, but it was easy to get down to those 2 finalists. And clearly BFJ showed all of us that their passion for this project was second to any of the other bidders, and very impressive.
I don't know, Councilman Grossman or Craig, if you'd like to add anything as well. I know you guys both made the time.
Yeah, so I appreciate everybody who put the time into this. It was great. I would encourage, and I know we want to get this going, but I also know that there are a couple of 100 pages here of reading for the council. I mean, each of these proposals is 100, and it is ultimately the council's decision. But when you read it, at the end, the amounts have been changed, and I don't know that that's clear anywhere. So,
Jimmy, if you could just, I don't know
yeah,
what you could share, Jimmy, just to make the council aware of financial
what the
implications.
final number was, because some of these amounts you'll go that's way over what was authorized or put into the budget, and they all are at or below at that point. That also is thanks to Jimmy's efforts. But I do think, there were 2 at the end, very strong contenders. I'm fine with either. I did have a problem with one of the people who would be working with the town, the fact that I thought there was somewhat of a misrepresentation of her past, and that was bothersome, but it's my own, having worked for New York City for a long time, just a heartfelt feeling that you don't use summer internships as a basis for what you're qualified or not qualified to do. And that was something that was in there. Anyway, I would urge you all, they're about 100 pages each. A lot of it is required statements at the end, so it's not 100 pages of reading. It's probably more like 70 each, because it is committing to a large amount of our future and a large number of dollars ultimately, not in the 100,000 roughly that it will be for the firm, but what their ultimate proposals will be. So both, as I said, 2 of the 3 finalists, both were very qualified. One had a little more passion, yes, but both were very qualified.
Members? Lauren?
I want to thank Daniel Zausner, Craig Feinberg, Mary Beth, David Jang, Mayor, Jeff Grossman, Adam, for all the work that went into this. Obviously, this is something that I'm thoroughly excited for and excited to see the future. So I wasn't able, obviously, to go to the interviews, but I did thoroughly sit with both of these proposals. And, I was thrilled. I thought they were both fascinating. My question really is, what did these companies represent as realistic? To start, are they looking to do simultaneous projects? And I ask this really because it matters to budget. And so we have to be prepared as we work with one of these companies or both of these companies or, whoever you pick, BFJ, looks like is the clear favorite here, that they understand, they may do a lot of work and it may not see funding for a couple of years. Was that made clear in the interview?
Lauren, I could tell you 100% that is clear to them. And I really think they look at this as a long-term horizon. It comes with no guarantees that, this initial phase of work guarantees them anything in the future. But what it does is it allows us to build a roadmap. And, basically there could be large scale projects, there could be medium and small scale projects we could do within the first year that may be 10 years down the road. And that's going to be for the council and the community to really decide. And that's where the workshops will come into play and really getting everybody's input that can help this be successful.
I mean, if I could add just one thing, we actually asked that very specific question, Lauren. I might have stolen that idea from you in the meeting, that the way it works timeline, they're going to be done with a super majority of, if not a full, all of it by December. We specifically asked, will you be prepared come January when we start going through the budgeting process, that they'll be able to give us, here are a set of things and then the order of magnitude of what those are going to cost, such that we're going to put some things in for 2022, some things in for 2023, some things in for 2024, etc. So that was specifically asked in the session, and both of them committed to doing that.
And I also just want to say I was so thrilled to see not only intelligence in terms of city planning and traffic patterns and all of the necessary things that we need to revitalize our downtown, but also with an eye towards conservation of green spaces and beautification. So that I was thrilled to see that. I really did think BFJ shined in terms of this presentation in writing. And again, I wasn't able to interview, but I'm thrilled that we had such a qualified team here for our town. I'm so excited to start this work with them, and I hope you all stay on board in whatever capacity you're willing to commit to.
Yeah, I want to say thank you to the team also that did, to council members, all the volunteers, everyone who worked on this. I think this is a step in the right direction for the long-term benefit of the borough. So thank you all. So I know. So what's the next step here, Jimmy? We know that we want all the council members to read the two finalists, at least certainly read the BFJ, and then what would we do at the next council meeting? Award.
I think we tried to set it up such that we could award it today.
Is it set up for that, Jimmy?
Yes, and there's an attached resolution.
There is a resolution for consideration by the council if they felt, if they wanted to move on that tonight, they can. The next steps,
that's even better.
Yeah, so qualifying, just to the point earlier in the question earlier, is that, and then also Wendy could assist too in this and outlining the next steps. The first step would be qualifying the firm, and then we would then contract with them, and the contract amount would be the budgeted amount. So going back to the point earlier, the numbers in the proposal, although we requested qualifications, so we're basing them on their qualifications of what we asked, but the contracted amount, whatever the is going to be within the budget amount. So that proposal amount will not be what the contracted amount is going to be.
Right. So important to remember is this was done as a request for qualifications. It wasn't done as an RFP. So the first step in the evaluation team, and the reason that there was a need for an evaluation team and scoring, is first to qualify the firms, and then the scoring helps give the council guidance as to which qualified firm, and I believe all 7 were actually qualified as far as the submissions, but which qualified firm the council would like to enter into a contract to. So I just want to clarify that there is a resolution attached to your packets. However, you'll note that there is no firm listed in the resolution, because obviously that's something that the council would have to decide on the firm to list in that resolution. But the resolution was included to show you how it moves forward, how it gets contracted under the budgeted amount. It still requires the CFO to certify that budget amount, which you all know based on the ordinance that was passed back in late winter. So if the council wanted to move forward, it could be on the action item added to the agenda, and it would just require a discussion as to which firm would be the one listed in the resolution.
Well, I mean, my recommend, based on the preparation, the recommendations of the committee, the council members, let's just move forward with this tonight. Unless council members have further questions. Vanu?
I would just say that in the interest of as Councilman Grossman said, there are 100 pages, hundreds of pages between the both of them that we really need to look through. I didn't have time, except just to skim what it said. So I think we do need to give the process and give it some time to look through it.
Council members, what do you guys want to do? Ladies, gentlemen?
So I have a question. Maybe this is procedure. The professionals and the committee that came together on the Downtown Revitalization Committee, they did a scoring system, right, for each of them. And I know some of it's attached here. If the scoring system is reflected on those 7 people, and this is their recommendation, do you want us now to I take it we're not going to go through and rescore here everything. The only thing I would like to do possibly is, if we pass this resolution, I'm sorry, Wendy, was that mean we do an RFP for this company, or we just hire them outright? I'm still confused on that. Because we're not going to go and do the same evaluation process,
because it's a professional service. An RFQ was done and under the fair and open procedure. So it'd be similar to how you hire your professionals at reorganization every year. If you do it with an RFQ, you can award to a professional under the fair and open process because it was done with an RFQ. You could choose to do it and just pick someone, but then it would be under the requirements of the non-fair and open process. So it gave you the opportunity to cast a wider net for publicity purposes. But because it's professional services, it's otherwise exempted from the RFQ process.
But it wasn't intended, I put up a stink that I wasn't part of the evaluation, but at this point, I don't get to re-interview or reevaluate these companies, correct? So wouldn't it behoove us to move the vote forward, is what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think this is like when we have committees and advisors with regard, whether we're hiring lawyers or HR people or whoever it might be, or planning board decisions, the council takes the advice of the committees it appoints. Vanu, go ahead.
So I don't disagree. I'm just saying that, Lauren brought up the scoring, for example. And if you look at the actual scoring, the one that it seems like everybody's leaning towards had a 29, and there was another one that had a 29, which is not selected. The second
Councilman, I think you might be looking at one individual scoring because the totals were closer between. The total scoring was between 297 and 392 for the 7 firms. So it might be that it's just separated by individuals and not added up.
then that's possible. As I said, yeah, you know, that's the problem with having you know, so much to look through, because you know, we are trying to decide, you know, even if it's a committee that is has decided, or it has gone through the process of which consultant to select. You know, ultimately, we are making a decision on which philosophy, for example, you know, and they do each have different philosophies. So we have these two firms that are talking. That they're not doing exactly the same job and exactly the same you know, thing that you know. So you can just say, oh, okay, well, one or the other. We just you know, pick one. These are totally, you know, there are differences in their philosophy, and I think you know, we should actually look through it and you know, come up with an. I mean, I don't know what the rush is to do it within this meeting versus 2 weeks from now.
Right. Why don't we, Mr. Mayor, why don't we just call a vote
So
on if we want to do it or not?
Yeah, we're going to do that. I just wanted to see, I wanted to see if Julie and Dan wanted to weigh in with their opinion. Look, I'm of the opinion, I don't particularly think this is really rushed. We've been working on it for months. You know, we have to trust the people we asked to advise us. But Julie, Dan, do you have any opinions? Because I would like to take a vote of the council to see if they want this included tonight or not.
I'm okay with tonight.
Do you have any questions about it or anything about the substance?
Nope.
No? Okay. Julie, any questions about the substance of it?
I was wondering if maybe if our committee, some of the townspeople who are here, who are on the committee, would they mind summarizing a little bit as to what the two visions are, just for the purpose of, you know, the public who's not getting to,
Sure. Yeah, that's a good idea. Daniel,
might be a better.
yeah. Daniel, can we put you on the spot?
No, I don't mind, Julie. I think part of it is I don't want to give the council the opinion that these people came to us with a 10-point bulletproof plan as to what they're going to do. It's really the philosophy about how they go about it, as well as the personnel that they dedicate to the project. And what BFJ did is, as I mentioned earlier, not only did they spend an inordinate amount of time evaluating the town and understanding it, but they actually gave us some low-lying fruit suggestions of things for us to be thinking about. They laid out a very concrete schedule over the next 6 months of who they'd meet with, when those meetings would take place. And it gave us the best comfort level of the fact that not only was the team well qualified, but on top of that, both BFJ and WSP made representations that they worked on the redevelopment of the town of Millburn, New Jersey. And what ended up happening was that WSP had done some consulting on the project on the front end of it, but they were excluded from bidding on it because someone was a former mayor and someone was very active in the community. It ended up that BFJ actually did that redevelopment work. And so in terms of seeing, not that any towns are really exactly the same, but understanding the work they did in Millburn and how it got us so excited about the opportunities for Tenafly, that really made them the clear-cut favorite. But I don't want to give anyone the misrepresentation that they all came in with a foolproof plan of what our town would look like in 5 or 10 years.
Is that other questions, Julie?
So we have an idea. Well, okay. So it's good to get that idea, thinking Millburn. But would you mind possibly speaking to well, okay, one question first, and then I was going to ask you maybe to speak to the other one that scored very well. And I don't mind if Jeff and Adam jump in as well. But thank you for the information. But I wanted to ask that once we actually get a plan, it doesn't mean, I just want everyone to understand, it doesn't mean you have to adopt everything in the plan, right? We're, you know, so I just think that's important for people to hear, that we would get a vision, how to execute it, but it doesn't mean that it's a fait accompli all the elements. There might be some things that are more affordable and other things that are not as affordable. Like I believe he just said,
And they're going to
low
come back to us
hanging
every
fruit.
week and every month. So it's not like they're going to go off
Exactly.
to
They're
a.
just going to
So
go away.
literally, if you want to speak to them every week, they actually have almost every week a touch point, whether it be a public touch point, a committee touch point, a council touch point. So they
Right.
can't go too far astray without the council saying we do not want a professional football field on Washington Street.
Right, so that's good to know. And I was just wondering if maybe you didn't mind what you would say then, Daniel, is that the other firm didn't give you that comfort level with regard to how they would execute a plan. Is that kind of fair to say?
They didn't give us that same level of detail. They didn't give us that same commitment from the personnel that they would have to this project. It didn't make the team bad, but we were looking for those comparable comparisons that we can get our arms around and make that correlation. The one thing I would say to you though is that really the critical element to this project is if they kind of lay out for us by the time this exercise is done 100 concepts of what we can do in the community, but we only act on 2 of them in the first 2 years. The whole point here is that you can integrate any of these other things somewhere down the road, and the initial 2 you did will not ever look out of place. That they're building blocks and they all work together or in different elements as you go over the next 5, 10, 20 years.
Oh, thank you. That is helpful.
Julie, can I just add to this? Because, when we were looking to do this, before we got the firms, one of the major components we were looking for is public input. And I know that that was always on our list to evaluate these firms. So we're doing this for the Northern Valley Greenway too. You have public sessions where, the community is involved, which I think is just such a vital and important point here. Not only are we bringing a firm in to tell us what could be possible, but also they're going to do a listening campaign to our residents. And they're going to say, well, clearly all the residents want, a walkable grass area. And that we need to now incorporate or find a way to incorporate. So, these are just some, I think, I was very impressed with the firms that we actually got bids from, requests for information back from, or qualifications from. And, at every stage, the council has the ability to assess it, to see if it's viable, to see if it's fundable, has funds, and to see if it makes sense. So there's nothing here that requires us to take any action other than get recommendations from professionals.
All right. So the question before us, and we'll poll the council, is to include the resolution to appoint BFJ to perform the downtown revitalization planning in tonight's consent agenda. Is that correct, Wendy?
Yes, Mayor, but I believe we should do it outside of the consent agenda.
We can do it outside the consent agenda. That's fine. So I'm polling the council to see if they would like to hold that vote tonight. And if you want it done outside of the consent agenda, that's fine. Is that an accurate statement then, Wendy? It's clear?
Yes.
Okay. Omar, please.
Councilmember Dayton?
Yes, and I'm very excited about this opportunity.
Councilmember Grossman?
Yes.
Councilmember Menon?
No.
Councilmember Michaels?
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor?
Yes.
Councilmember Park?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, council members. So Wendy, when do we call this vote outside the consent agenda?
Correct. Just after the consent agenda.
Just after the consent agenda. Okay. Okay.
Can we, Adam and Jeff, could we maybe institute some of those check-ins with the council?
Yeah, it's actually already there. It's actually in one of the pages. I'll send it to you directly. But yeah, actually almost every week there's something. Couple public sessions, I think 6 or 9, like 6 committee sessions, and then council sessions. Yes, absolutely. I'll send that to you.
Thanks.
Okay, it's time. Thank you, everyone. It's time for the administrator's report. Jimmy, please.
Thank you, Mayor. For personnel, Kenny Small is resigning from his position as part-time recreation aide. His last day working for the borough is May 25th. Under Pfister's Pond hydro raking project, bids were received on May 13th. One bid was submitted by TR Weninger for $312,000 with an alternate bid price of an additional $36,000. The bid submission is being reviewed by the borough engineer with a recommendation that will be provided at the June 15th meeting of the mayor and council. And
Jimmy, we don't have a start date on that, right?
no, there would still have to
Okay.
be an award, pre-con meetings. So that's
Mhm.
that it probably won't happen until probably earliest is early July. So
Jimmy,
You've been in touch.
Go ahead, Lauren.
No, sorry, Mayor, go ahead.
No, I was going to interject. To the extent I risk speaking on behalf of Council President Dayton, I'm sure part of her concern is the education, the classes, and everything going on at the Nature Center. We want to remember our commitment to make all that work.
Yeah, it was a late date. I think the 25th or 28th of June. So just naturally that it won't be turned around that quick.
So just
go ahead.
please be in touch with obviously Deborah Davidson and the Tenafly Nature Board, because they are advertising certain weeks of camp to run and certain activities to run. And, you know, the more precise we are, the better. Thank you.
Of course. Yeah, I've spoken with them initially and had informed them that even at the June 15th date, being if it was awarded then, you'd still have to have, you know, paperwork that would have to be done and all the pre-con meetings and all the logistics. So that takes a little bit. So we were probably looking at earliest is the beginning of July. So,
okay,
which is in line with what they had requested. So far so
excellent.
good. Yep.
Don't want to bump into the paving on the other end.
No, of course. And then last but not least is the 2020 Bergen County Open Space Trust Fund. The Bergen County Board of County Commissioners approved the grant award to the borough for Oresco Park project for pathway with pavers, benches, and landscaping. The grant award is for $33,103 with a total proposed project budget of $66,206. The accepting of this grant award is under consideration by the mayor and council at tonight's meeting. I know we may have been informed of this previously, not officially. Just they had sent it to a previous email that's no longer working from the county. So, which is why it's being reported at this time, not earlier, because we hadn't technically received it, but even though we knew about it, so it's on for tonight for acceptance. And that's all.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Jimmy.
You're welcome.
And Jimmy, that was it, right? You were mumbled there a little bit.
Yep, that concludes my report, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, so next on the agenda is correspondence. We have Norman Dorff. He's making, everyone's read this letter dated May 12th. He's asking the council to be able to park his vehicles at 81 Hudson Avenue. That's up to the council to decide what they'd like to do. Jimmy, do you have any comments on this?
If I may, it's Wendy, Mayor.
Go ahead.
I believe this is a request that should be made to the Board of Adjustment, not to the mayor and council.
For context, this I believe it went to either there, or I believe went to that board and it was rejected, and then appealed to the mayor and council, which is brought it to this point.
So this is an appeal. It's not written that way. So that's, I think, certainly why I was a little confused.
It's like deja vu.
Yeah, my recollection is a letter came to the mayor and council requesting the approval, and we reviewed this and indicated that it was more appropriate to be a submission to the building department to confirm whether the correct zoning is in place on the property he's wishing to use. So I apologize, but I thought this was a rejection from the building code official who doesn't have the ability to grant a variance. So it would be a confirmation that it is not an allowable use and it would need to go to the Board of Adjustment for a variance.
It did. I could send you the email to confirm, but yeah, it did go that route. It did go to that board and reject it at that level.
Okay, so what is the process? because I have to be honest, I can't even remember the last year the council reviewed something that was rejected by the Board of Adjustment. So I think for everyone's edification, what is the official process and how does the council get presented with the case and make a decision?
Mayor, before that,
Yes.
I don't remember, anything coming in front of the Board of Adjustment as
Okay.
as a discussion. So unless I'm misunderstanding, there was no turning down by the Board of Adjustment.
Okay, so I would recommend Wendy and Jimmy, let's figure out what's what here and what the council's supposed to be doing for the next meeting. Is that fair?
Thank you, Mayor. That's exactly what I would ask for.
Okay,
No
perfect.
problem.
Thank you, thank you. The second piece of correspondence is from Ms. Milanos regarding crosswalks in Tenafly.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, can I speak to this one?
Of course, absolutely.
So Olga had mentioned this, Ms. Milanos mentioned this when we were on the Environmental Commission, and I'm glad that she followed up with some correspondence. So she's quite concerned about pedestrian safety in town, and many of the people, even though it wasn't the topic for Environmental Commission, it was just because Mike Cassidy was on the call. So many other members of our commission were also asking questions around this about, more crosswalks, repainting current crosswalks, which Mike said that they do make brighter. So, there is a concern about this, and I had suggested that perhaps our division of traffic, which I remember Chief Chamberlain used to be that man. I thought that maybe we could have maybe a little bit more of a conduit for residents because just so I can explain, it's a little bit more complicated than people might realize. So for example, some roads are county roads, right? And so that wouldn't even be our road to put a crosswalk on, and things need traffic studies in order to put crosswalks. So I thought that maybe we could have a little bit more of a forum where people could present issues that our traffic division might study, might look at and say, these are some areas that could really use this assistant. I know that she put down some of these, her suggestions, but it's a big enough town that there might be some areas that escape us. And, I know we've gotten feedback about sidewalks on Magnolia. So I just thought that maybe there's something we could do, Mr. Mayor, with people being able to say areas they're concerned about so that we could even start, our police department could start that process to study it, to look and to see what areas might need more. And then maybe we also could put on that that electronic billboard about the importance of driving slower, yielding to pedestrians, and there's a concern. More people are out walking, and then you combine that with more people texting, both texting while walking and texting while driving. It's quite a dangerous situation. So I'm open to whatever you all suggest, but I do know I heard it myself from many residents.
Is it, I mean, that's all excellent points and ideas. Is the chief still on the phone? Still on the call here? No. So, not to exclude any other council members from giving their opinion, which they'll be happy, to do so next. But Jimmy, perhaps you and the chief sit down and, we go right to the source and make this a priority project for the chief. in terms of making recommendations to the council of, whatever, start with 10. What are the 10 what 10 places perhaps should we put crosswalks in, or whatever he thinks, and come back to the council with some recommendations. And we start with him. He's going to know best what the traffic details are everywhere. Council members, comments? Yes, please.
So actually, Omar, Susan, and I have been working a little bit on this issue to the side.
Great.
Old Japan has an incredible program where they have a sidewalk improvement fund, and they raise money when they have contributions in lieu of construction of sidewalks on projects. So let's say there's a block that doesn't get sidewalked. There's a fund that contributes sidewalks then to have sidewalking for its major roads and its green spaces and recreation spaces so that people can walk to the community areas safely. So we've been looking into this on how they raise the funds and how they collect them and what are the rules, but we're still working on it. So, hopefully I will be able to present that in a week or so. But it's something for us to consider. Other communities actually prioritize the construction and maintenance of sidewalks. So as I get more information, I'm excited to present it. And I know I've spoken with some of the Old Japan council people who say, we now have extra money in our sidewalks. Our whole town has been sidewalked. Everyone wanted a brand new sidewalk, and it really is beautiful. My family lives over there as well. And, we can safely walk everywhere. So, it's something for us to consider. But again, before I propose it, I want to understand the financial aspects.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from council members? So it
This
sounds like,
letter, could this letter be forwarded also to the police? Because she is very specific.
of course,
Okay.
of course. So it sounds like we have two things going on: the sidewalk group and the funding that goes along with it. Longer term details to come. And Jimmy, please have a conversation with the police chief about the whole crosswalks, and at the next council meeting, let's beg the chief's indulgence to come back, give us a few minutes, and talk a little bit about how that would work and how those streets would get picked out.
Will do.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions about the resolutions for this evening? Or any questions about the minutes?
Hold on, I'm sorry. Can I go back to the resolutions?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Leah, back up because we're going to vote them. Go ahead. Questions about the resolutions. Go ahead.
So I want to recognize that on these resolutions is the establishment of the 2021 Tenafly Pride Day. And I hope that my council passes it again. And I appreciate that support for our LGBT community, for anti-bullying, tolerance, and respect. I'm so proud to be part of our Tenafly Pride Committee. We are inviting everybody to our flag raising, which will be on June 2nd at 3:30. And then Tenafly Pride Day will be on June 13th. And we hope that everyone comes out. We hope everyone supports our community. And I look forward to a wonderful and educational celebration. So thank you.
And that's June 2nd, 3:30 p.m. flag raising. Okay. All right. We're approving the minutes right here, Omar, right?
Once we go into the regular meeting, if there's any
Oh, the
questions.
regular meeting? Hold on a second. Okay, right. All right. Okay, any questions about the minutes? None? We spent enough time on the minutes. For the good of the order, ban on leaf blowers. Council President Dayton, please.
Oh, that's interesting. It's not on here, but happy to talk about it. So Montclair, and Julie, did you put this on as well?
No.
No. Okay. So Montclair actually did a ban on leaf blowers recently. As we have discussed numerous times, while we haven't come to a solution, we're just about entering leaf blower season, and I hear them on a daily basis. I would behoove us again to revisit this issue and to consider limiting the noise and the environmental impact of leaf blowers. I would be in favor of a ban on these leaf blowers more and move towards was it electrical leaf blowers, I believe, which exist. And I would like to still, again, task the environmental and green team to look into this and to give a recommendation.
Comments from other council members? Jeff?
Yeah, so the question I always raise, are we looking to apply the same rules to homeowners and professional landscapers? Are we looking to distinguish the two? Because, you know, as a homeowner who buys this equipment once every several years, if I have a piece of equipment, I'm not going to be able to sit there and just replace it as easily as a landscaping business, which goes through it much faster. They're always replacing their equipment because of the amount of use it gets. So in a year or two, they could probably turn over a lot of their equipment. I can't do that as a homeowner without a financial impact. And I'm also not out there doing hundreds of hours of leaf blowing. So I would want that to be a consideration. And I know in some towns that has been, and others it hasn't. In this town, I would like it to be. So that would be my strong input.
I'm sorry, Lauren, go ahead. Then I have a suggestion.
I was going to say, in Montclair, it didn't matter who was using the leaf blower, only that the type of leaf blower was banned with a certain octave and noise level. And so, again, I'm not suggesting any which way. I'm suggesting we revisit the conversation on this and maybe form, as we have a cannabis. You know, we've heard from many residents over the past year and a half about the noise and the nuisance that they are feeling, especially everyone, you know, being closer to home. And, you know, for those of us who've always been home, it's incredibly disturbing. You know, it's disturbing to children, it's disturbing to babies, it's disturbing to families, and just individuals. Seniors could be home all day. So again, I would encourage our council to look at this again.
So I'm going to throw my opinion into this for a second. And one of the consistent themes on this topic that we all kind of are on the same page with is that we really don't have enough information, to Jeff's point, on leaf blowers. I don't, gas, electric, how long they last. You buy them at Home Depot, you buy them, you know, whatever. Perhaps we ask the Environmental Commission and or the Green Team to reach out to, I think there are 3 landscaping companies that are owned by Tenafly residents, to reach out to those proprietors, to include them in discussion, because I don't know one gas blower from another, and kind of ask them for their input and see what they think. And really we can say to them, look, this is a recurring theme. We would like you to give us advice and be part of the conversation, rather than us make a decision that may not even be best for the residents or the landscaping companies, right? And we certainly don't want to do that. So that's Jimmy, I would, if the council was amenable, let's get these 3 owners to the table and let them know we want something to be done, and what's their input, what's their side of the story.
I appreciate that, because some of the landscaping companies had written me during this quieter time and said, you know, we'd like a voice here in this conversation. So
yeah, let's include residents. Let's include them, and then we'll have a better sense of what we're talking about.
Some of the nice things is I have gotten numerous emails that said, I work in other towns and they have a rotating, you know, quadrant schedule, a rotating schedule. I can only come on Tuesdays or whatever it is. I mean, there are towns that have put reasonable restrictions here on the noise levels.
Yeah, we've been trying to reinvent the wheel, I think, and we don't need to. So Jimmy, can you please reach out to the chair of the Environmental Commission and let's try to put this together?
Sure, we'll do.
And maybe we have a conference call, a Zoom call, and I'll join the first call to tee it up, and then you and the chair can take it away from there.
Okay.
Can I ask that we have something within the next few weeks, given that, you know, we're in the start of spring and summer?
Yeah.
It wouldn't make sense now to take 6 months to discuss this yet again.
Yeah,
so
I agree with that. Jimmy, you and I have an offline tomorrow to identify some of the owners you can reach out to, because we can do this pretty quickly. They'll respond right away.
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
Can I add
Oh.
something for the good of the order?
Sure, go ahead.
Super quick.
Well, go ahead.
Well, I'd like to revisit the Volta presentation. We heard it last time, and I just want to say, that I do believe that the free charging stations will help propel how future infrastructure is supposed to look in towns. And I'd like Tenafly to move forward. I think the placement of those monitors is not so central that it impacts the town's look. And I think that being able to deliver this for free to our residents is a benefit that outweighs the costs. I know some council people got to visit the charging stations and what they looked like. And we'd be saving tens of thousands of dollars in order to deliver a really innovative electric vehicle technology plan, for our town. And I don't want it to be one of those things that we hear a presentation and just let it die. I kind of want to know where people's heads are at, if they visited it. And like I say, I think the placement is far enough away, and anything that is free, obviously the guy wants to have his advertising, but there's some positives as well. So I think the positives outweigh the negatives. So I just wanted to revisit it. It was last meeting, see who's gotten to visit it and all that stuff. So I'm just going to open that up.
So Julie, I would recommend that then we put this back on to be considered, to have a full discussion. And whether it's Jimmy, the vendor, or you put together a one-page summary, which gives any council member, in other words, the next meeting will give some council members time to visit these if they have not already done so. And put an executive summary of one page together for the council to make a decision on whether they want to move forward or not, or what parts of it they like or what parts of it they don't like. Is that reasonable? Go ahead, Laura.
Can I ask that we hear from other options?
Sure. I mean, sure. I mean, you're not going to hear other options tonight, obviously, right?
No, of course not.
Right. So Julie.
But
Julie,
Mr. Mayor, that was brought up last time by Councilwoman Dayton. This thing, as you said, there are no other options other than vendors that would deliver electric vehicle charging stations that you could pay. And that was something that we talked about last time. It's like we'd either decide to move forward with paying. This was the only one that was doing it for free. So that, you know what I mean? Like that was
if this is its option and it wasn't very willing to change from putting televisions throughout our downtown, I want to see, maybe this isn't the time then to put an electric charging station. We see if a state contract comes through. We see if, other things. I'm not willing to give up the sanctity of our town to get this. I asked them if they'd be willing to put all of this into municipal centers or side parking lots, and the answer was no. And so to me, I would like to see other options. And I love the idea of electric charging, but not at the destruction of our town, civility. So for me, I won't be willing to say yes or no on this until I see other options.
I think, Julie, the other options can simply be not other options to Volta's plan, but perhaps other options in terms of, if we don't want marketing, it's going to cost us X amount of dollars to put a plug on the corner of Washington and Railroad. I think that gives us a solid, okay, I get X, doesn't cost the town any money, doesn't cost the borough any money. But if I don't want that particular look and I still want electric charging stations, how much of a check do I have to write every month? I think that broad stroke. Yeah.
There were 6, and also that it was included in that would be a level 3. So yeah, I can see if we can get a cost. I'll work with Jimmy.
Okay. Sure.
Maybe we can, right, Jimmy? Maybe we can get. I know we worked with one of the ones that you the ones that you'd have to pay. And so maybe we could bring that guy back in to find the cost, right?
Yeah.
We know exactly what we'd be asking for. I do just want to clarify, these are not throughout our downtown. they're not by Cafe Angelique. That, you know, there was the corner by Arroggio and the police vehicle parking spot currently, and then the two down on Washington Ave. Those are the two that are in our downtown, uh, according to this proposal. But, you know, and I know some people visited. We can definitely put it on the to be considered for next time. I'll come back with a one-page summary. But I will just say, as a caveat to this and moving forward and how we're moving forward with the downtown plan, you know, expeditiously, you know, this is the week that the Ford, or last week, Ford F-150, huge truck, is now coming out with an electric line. And this is, you know, my point. I am not so, you know, gung ho about, of course, you know, you give a little and you take a little when you have little TV screens. However, you know, this is the wave of the future, and everywhere I see, I'm seeing more electric cars driven by people of all walks of life. So I think that's how infrastructure is going to look, and it'd be great to be delivering this at such a, you know, at such a steal in that way, free. So I will put together the one-page summary for it to be considered, and Jimmy and I, if we can work with another pay vendor to give exactly what what Volta said they'd give, and see what that cost would be. But then, you know, for that next meeting, I'd love to hear from everybody what they think about the look, and you know, if they want to move forward.
Okay.
I don't know, and Julie, you know better than I do. And I could send it to you. I was in Spark Hill, maybe, right? And I saw a bunch. I think the company is called EV Connect, but they had a much smaller footprint and a double
Port.
Port. See, you know this stuff better than me. So I don't know if and they charge again, it's like 25 cents or something for whatever time. So I don't know if that's helpful or not, but they looked pretty cool. I'll send you some pictures. Just so happens I was
Sure.
there.
Thanks.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that, Julie. The next in good of the order is the Sidewalk Trust Fund. Council President Day, but you kind of spoke about that. Do we need to, is there more you want to say on that topic?
You know, it's funny, this isn't even on I don't see it on the agenda. We didn't finish researching it, so I'm going to say we're going to move it to the next meeting. Omar, if you wouldn't mind, please put it on for the next one.
Okay. So Omar, you have that. We're going to add that to the next meeting?
Absolutely.
The Sidewalk Trust Fund. Okay. Thank you. Under old business, parking ordinance.
I was wondering if Wendy could talk about this, because I think from what I was reading, this is related to the commercial vehicles that I was, am I right, Wendy, that I had thought we could sell overnight commercial vehicle, you know, ability for our residents at a particular lot, but then we were running into problems with it because, you know, the Wells Fargo lot wasn't something I don't think that we were ready to commit to. If you don't mind, is that what this is about, Wendy? I wasn't sure.
No, this is about
The swim club?
that the chief had pointed out to us at some point, and actually, I believe it was through Councilman Grossman, that the school board properties at some point in time
Was this
during
the swim clubs between the two
this is
swim clubs?
all of the
Yeah.
board
Oh,
of
yeah,
ed
that's that.
properties,
And so
as
you're
well
just covering them.
as it's all of the board of ed properties, as well as a parking lot that is still owned by the borough, but is where the juniors park. So that's
Right,
a borough
and it
lot,
didn't
but the rest are
have,
board of ed.
and I remember it wasn't covered by anything. Yeah, I was involved with that with Jeff. So this effectively covers, it names it and covers it the same as the other Board of Ed lots, right?
No, it covers it the same as other lots in town with no overnight parking. The problem is that while the Board of Ed parking lot at some point had no overnight parking, it fell out of the code book, and we're not really sure why. So it's just reintroducing something that used to be there so that the police have the ability to enforce no overnight parking as of right now, because it's not in the code book, even if there's signs, they can't enforce it.
Right. Yeah. So Jeff, we worked on this, right? So this just
Right.
covers it, right?
Yeah, the only question I had is the junior lot, as we're calling it, which in the proposed ordinance, Board of Ed lot 3-S-3E Grove Street East. I don't recall ever seeing a lease for that portion. And if we're going to use it for multiple uses, if we develop the swim club site, calling it a Board of Ed lot when there's no lease, I got a little confused by that. So have you seen a lease for that?
No, I have not.
So why are we calling it that?
Jeff, can I weigh in just for a second?
You can weigh in, but remember, this is a legal document, so.
Oh, yeah, I'm just weighing in. I'm not
Yes.
gonna make a legal statement here.
Right.
All I can say is that we, the borough, have for a long time simply referred to that as the junior lot. I am also not aware of any lease, let alone any lease conversation over the past 10 or 12 years that's taken place. It's just been kind of a friendly little, the Board of Ed gets to use it for the juniors. That's all.
I don't mind that at all.
Yeah,
What I mind
yeah.
is codification of
Right.
that being a board lot.
Yeah.
So
The two are
the
totally
section,
different, and this to me codifies it
Right.
without any evidence that it should be codified and referred to as a board lot.
Right.
And I
Yeah,
know
I don't
that the
disagree with
language
that.
under it says certain municipal and Board of Ed lots, but it's completely misleading. Even the fact that the prior one for Grove Street West has the issue of that's a long-term lease, but at some point if that expires, the ordinance lives past the expiration date and would have to then be changed. That can be easily done, but this one, as we just agreed, there's no lease.
so I would suggest that we change the language instead of identifying it as Board of Education lot S-3E Grove Street East. It should be municipal lot, and I believe Omar was working to get a block and lot designation so that it would have a different definition than just Grove Street East and Grove Street West, because those were more placeholder type suggestions at the time that this was last circulated. But the idea of putting this onto the agenda tonight is exactly this, Councilman Grossman, is to get the feedback so that it can be introduced at the next meeting with the council having seen it and provided such feedback in order to kind of belt and suspender it and shore it up a bit.
And
so that can be changed in the title.
As Omar goes through it, he may want to just be mindful of the fact that part of that Grove Street East area includes a paper road, which may not have a block and lot designation because it's strictly that, a paper road through a portion of it.
Does that paper road, does that run through like east-west through the lot or north-south parallel to the tracks?
It runs east-west through the lot. The Hickory Court or whatever that's called across continues on paper right through to the tracks, east-west.
Because way back when Hickory passed over the high school fields, didn't it?
On paper, I'm not sure it ever in fact did.
Okay.
All right, I appreciate it. Look, this is what we've been pushing for since last summer. Simple, these lots had no designation. We had people
Parking all night.
Parking all night, yeah, long term.
I'm very glad it's getting addressed.
And I appreciate it, Wendy. Thank you.
Wendy and Jemmy, you have clarification on this to be able to present to the council at the next meeting?
Yep.
Okay. All right. The next, an old business item I'm going to bring up is the website. Okay. So we've been cleaning up the new website with an eye towards launching it. It's taken a while. What we would like to do is Omar tomorrow is going to, in the morning, send a link to the Civic Plus website as it looks right now. Okay. We're asking that the council members take a look at this by Friday. And if they find any mistakes being, the recycling center opens at 8 a.m., not at 5 a.m., make sure the time is right, sort of thing, to give us any final typo or comments by this Friday. We're not at this point looking for, you think it should be blue instead of green, or we should have this photo or that photo, because we want to get this thing launched. There's two things that still need to be done, the first one of the minutes to be added will be added to the web. The historical minutes will be added before we launch. You're going to find the agendas there, but the minutes aren't attached. That's in the process of being done. And the second thing, another big issue, is our committees. And we have a lot of committees. We have placeholders. We're going to start soliciting all the comments in writing from the committees, but we want to launch now and then add the committees as they complete their language and with the things they want to add to it. And it's like any website, it's going to grow, and we want to, after Friday, we want to move it into place. So what'll happen is that Jimmy and Omar will be working with the current vendor and the historical vendor to get the technical work done. So we don't know whether it would actually launch on Monday or Thursday or the following week, but after Friday, consider it as to be launched anytime, and then we'll just slide it into place. Any comments or questions?
Yes.
Mayor?
Lauren, then Banu.
I actually think Banu is first, so I'm going to let him.
Oh, go ahead, Banu.
I would just say that I don't think the website committee had a chance to have a look at what was going on. I think we should have a meeting prior to it being put out for the public or for the other council members.
We could certainly have a meeting, but absolutely fine, no question about it. Just so for everyone's edification, we haven't changed nothing of substance has changed in terms of style, expectations, how the committee wanted things laid out. The only thing that's really changed over this period of time is that it was all everything the committee wanted was executed on. But yeah, I'm perfectly happy to have another meeting, but there's been no substantive changes at all. It's all about making sure the right dates and the right language is in the right column that we all agreed upon, based on the layout, Vanu, that you had fundamentally, led the charge on. So, but happy to do that.
Mayor.
Yes, Lauren.
So one of the reasons why we had held off until that committee work was finished is because once we switch our domain, the information that's on our old website will be overwritten. And so we need to really ensure, and I'm not really sure what happened in the past couple of months because I was told it was going to get done. And of course it's not, but I really need to ensure that that isn't lost, because I don't want something like the HPC, which has so much information on the website, to have to start from scratch. There's a reason why we wanted to have each committee have a say. And, our website designer, she had moved us along so well. And, I really, again, it would behoove us to consider her for a future year as we continue to build it. But for now, those committees need to be contacted this week before we launch, or we need to hold off another week. And I don't want to push it off months, but,
right. So
that information is going to get lost.
Right. So that's part of Jimmy's responsibility in working with both website companies, so to ensure that we lose no data and we save all the data, because you're right. We don't want to reinvent any of that. 100% correct. And that is being planned for. In terms of, we can't both launch and not launch at the same time. The committees, a lot of work on everyone's part. This committee, the committee, and internally and some external people, a lot of work is done. It's taken a long time to get here, and launching the site with the current comments I made is something we want to get done, because I think the committees are actually going to start editing their site, their pieces, at very different rates, and Look, we'll have a website committee meeting. We'll send the link to the council people, and we'll go from here.
Running public listening, we are very excited to introduce the new website. It is hopefully significantly user friendly, better resident communication, and we hope that it will have a good rollout.
Okay. So next is everyone's favorite part. We're going to adjourn to the regular meeting. So could I get a motion, please? Someone?
So moved.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Would anyone like to take a 2-minute break? No? Okay. All righty. I'm going to read the Open Public Meetings Act. In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, TL 1975, Chapter 231, the notice requirements have been satisfied. The meeting dates for the year are confirmed at the annual meeting, are posted on the public bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center, and published in the record within the first 10 days of the new year. Notice of this meeting via the May 21, 2021 Sunshine Notice has been sent to the Record, Suburbanite, Northern Valley Press, and has been posted on the bulletin board and borough website. Salute to the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. All right. Okay, roll call, please. Omar.
Councilmember Dayton?
Lauren.
Councilmember Dayton?
Lauren.
Calling me. I'm here. Yes. I can't hear Omar.
Councilmember Grossman?
Here.
Councilmember Menon?
Here.
Councilmember Michaels?
Present.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor?
Here.
Councilmember Park?
Here.
Dan?
Mayor Zenna?
Here. Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the following sets of minutes? March 9th, 2021, May 11th, 2021 work session, May 11th, 2021 regular meeting, and May 11th, 2021 closed session.
So moved.
So moved.
Second?
Second. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Wendy, are there any revisions to, excuse me? Wendy, are there any revisions to the agenda, please?
Yes, Mayor, there's the addition of a resolution for authorizing the award of a contract to BFJ. Omar, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that resolution number would be R21-227.
You're correct.
Okay, so R21-227. And I'm also going to ask that ordinance number 21-13 be removed. I apologize. I just told the council that the parking ordinance was on for discussion, and I forgot that I had asked Omar to put the placeholder in case everybody was okay with it. So I'm going to ask that we remove ordinance number 21-13 and hold it to introduce the next meeting when we can better identify the parking lots.
2113 is a tree ordinance, no? A tree refund.
Ordinance, not resolution.
Ordinance.
Oh, sorry. I apologize. Sorry.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. All right, so I'm going to call a vote on 21-227 separately after the consent agenda. Okay. All right, public comments. Audience members wishing to speak will have a 3-minute time limit to address the governing body. Large groups are requested to have a spokesperson represent them. Any members of the public would like to make a comment, please?
Hello, it's me again.
All right, you at 39 Leroy Street, tell us your name and address.
Christine Evron, 39 Leroy Street. And I actually am going to read these comments because I feel really strongly about this and it's out of my normal area.
Go ahead.
I wanted to comment on the recent approval of a large building at 22 Jersey Street. I followed it because I care a lot about rain runoff and water management in town. Climate change and extensive development on East Hill, as I understand it, caused flooding on Engel Street and Dean Drive. This was expensive for the town. Everyone is aware of the Virginia town that washed away because new construction funneled mountain runoff into the town. Building codes for New Jersey were developed with extensive evaluation of weather pattern changes and groundwater absorption. They state how much open land there should be to absorb rainwater, not just to shunt it into the sewer, but how much should actually go into the ground per lot. Overruling state building codes that were meant to be implemented when the new construction is implemented is a terrible idea. The world is changing, and to say that it's okay to cover the ground with a building because the old parking lot was not there is not necessarily true. The building was approved by the planning board. I think they really overstep what the council might want them to do. If there's a way for the council to review that issue, the opposing engineer presentation was made on the very last day of a very long presentation, and there was no time between that and the vote. I mean, there was a public comment period to really absorb what he said and then comment on it. If the council would just review that last engineer's presentation and then the section that was the landowner's engineering report, you might want to reconsider that. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine.
I'm sorry.
Any other members of the?
Wait, Mark, what was
Excuse
the
me?
address on that? 22.
22 Jersey, across from La Promenade.
Okay. And what was approved there? A storage unit?
Storage unit that
Storage
went
facility.
2 feet from the property edges where the normal setback was, I believe, 15 feet. Now, because that's the outer ring, that's a huge increase in area.
Okay. Thank you, Christine. Any other members of the public would like to speak? Anyone there, Omar?
I see no other hands, Mayor.
No other hands. Okay. Okay. Hold on one second.
Can I ask a question in regard to Christine's comments? I just had a question about procedure. If the council was going to revisit something that the planning board had approved, how does one go about doing that?
I mean,
if that's an issue.
That's a legal question. The council, Wendy, you have to jump in here, but the council doesn't review planning board decisions. Go ahead, Wendy, can you?
That's correct. The planning board is independent. The council does not review.
The council accepts it. Wendy, just to further on that for edification, is it correct to say the council takes appeals from the zoning board?
That is correct. Appeals from the zoning board would come for consideration before the council.
Okay, Julie?
Are we anticipating any appeals here?
I have absolutely no idea. I mean, from the zoning board? I only said that to clarify the two boards and what's appealable to the council and what's not. That's all. Not.
No, I understand there was an opposition on the Jersey Avenue project.
Yes, there were.
Correct?
Yeah, yeah.
And so my question is, do you know if there's an appeal coming?
I have no information whatsoever on any appeals. None that I've heard of. Jeff, have you heard of any yet?
So that would be the decision of the objector's attorney. It would
Yep.
not be an appeal to the mayor and council. It would be an appeal in the courts. I can tell you that there was a legal appeal on the Bottle King site. And my understanding is within the next month or so, that appeal will be decided by the courts. And so it really is up to the objector's attorney what they want to do with this. And as far as the idea of the Board of Adjustments appealing to the mayor and council, I mean, in my 10 years on the Board of Adjustment, I think it may have happened one time at most. They tend to appeal to the courts as well. And I'll give a further report on 22 Jersey Avenue during my committee report.
So to Christine's letter then, when she says the mayor and council should reconsider, that's not really the process?
The mayor and council hasn't even considered this application, let alone reconsider it.
But correct, it's
Okay.
not in the purview of what the mayor and council has the
Right.
ability to reconsider.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, can I get a motion, please? Can I have a motion, please, to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Have a second, please.
Second.
Second.
Omar, please call the roll.
Councilmember Dayton,
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Menon,
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels,
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor,
Yes.
Councilmember Park.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Can I have a motion, please, to approve resolution 21-227?
So moved.
Have a second, please.
Second.
Okay, Omar, please call the roll.
Councilmember Dayton,
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Menon,
No.
Councilmember Michaels,
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor,
Yes.
Councilmember Park.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, everyone, on that. We're going to move right to committee reports, and Councilman Grossman, since you've got a hot topic that everyone seems interested in, we're going to have ask you to go first, please.
All right. So the planning board did meet for, I lost count of how many meetings there were on 22 Jersey Avenue, which is a storage facility that was approved. All right. I will ask, and I've asked this at other meetings, when we throw things into the messages, into chat, it is the same as shouting in the middle of a meeting. And I know our council has also talked to this issue. So I appreciate the exact number, but you would not in a public meeting shout out 11. So it's 11 times. The interesting thing, and this is really what I want to report on. First of all, as far as the coverage a lot, it's actually not all that different from what's there. Yes, it would be nice to reduce coverage, but that's de minimis. Here's the thing. One of the sticking points for a number of the committee members was that an earlier version of the plan had a sidewalk. And so this gets to your point, Council Member Dayton, about sidewalks. Then a later version didn't have sidewalks, and that concerned a lot of people. Jersey Avenue on that side is not traversed by a lot of pedestrians. It's just not common. So what they agreed to do, and what the resolution is actually going to say, is that they have to provide sidewalk elsewhere in town designated by the town. So that will be a substitute of sidewalk from Jersey Avenue to somewhere in greater need, which is an interesting way of looking at development of sidewalks. Where that will be, that's to be determined by, I guess, our professionals to some degree. So that was a planning board that was approved. The Tenafly Presents is continuing to meet. We have our Tuesday lineup all set. Very exciting. I will be releasing that shortly. We're working on our Thursday lineup. Thursdays are going to be a hybrid between rain dates, because we still don't have an ability to have large crowds indoors. The rain venue used to be the Clinton Inn. That just won't be feasible this summer again. So we're using Thursdays for rain dates, but we're also using it to try and find new talents, local talents, some not so new. We're bringing in a variety of acts that are not main stage acts. And main stage acts, for example, we're bringing in a bass guitarist this year with a small group. Her name's Divinity Rocks, ROXX. Very cool. She used to be an opening act for Beyonce. So that's what we're doing on Tuesdays, that kind of level. Meanwhile, we had a request from a mother in town whose daughter is 15, has performed, I guess, at various places, and we're looking at, that would be a Thursday act. So that's progressing. I also finally want to report on last night. The Stigma Free Committee held its Lime Out at Geisinger Field with the varsity lacrosse team, and I also want to thank the mayor and Councilmember Dayton for helping out with handing out green masks, green pom-poms, and holding QR codes. In total, I mean, I deal with this with my students every day, and I have to tell you that as tough as COVID is for a lot of people, for those who were subject to emotional distress or subject to that, this has been a really trying time, and a lot of people are hurting mentally, emotionally. And so if there is anybody listening who is, please go to the borough website. We have posted resources and things that you can look at and places you can call. You're not alone. If you're feeling anxieties, if you're feeling depression, if you're developing eating disorders, if you're cutting, whatever it is, unfortunately, you are not alone. And we don't stigmatize people based on their having emotional or other disorders. We don't, as I tell my students, we wouldn't sit there and yell at someone, why can't you run a mile, when they have a multiple fracture on their leg? We certainly shouldn't be chiding people about why are you acting that way when they're in distress. It's easier to see a physical, easier to see something physical and be more sympathetic than something emotional, which is harder to see. So if anybody is suffering, or a friend or a member of their family, please help them get the help they need, and let them know they're not alone and they have a lot of support out there. And that's the whole purpose of the Lime Out, is to spread that word and information. So thank you all. Those are my reports.
Okay, Jeff. Thank you very much. By the way, I just want to add, since we were at the lacrosse game yesterday evening, all the Tenafly lacrosse teams, the varsity, the JV, the younger kids, they were all doing fantastically. We started that program a few years back in recreation, and our parents really, they were the driving force behind it. But they're really doing a great job. I'm even going to games when my son's not playing, so I'm enjoying it. So I'm sorry, I had to do the plug for the varsity. Okay, Councilman Menon, would you like to go next, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
Just one meeting in the last 2 weeks. It was the senior center board, and they after quite a few weeks of or meetings of deliberations, they finally agreed. They voted on a couple of new members for this year, they will I believe step in on June 14th at the next meeting. They'll be present at the next meeting, but then they'll officially take their seats in September when the senior center board reconvenes after 2 months of being off. But in terms of there was one other board related activity where president of the board, they wanted to extend the current president's term for another year, and they did that. Other than that, the actual, the senior center is moving along as usual, doing very well. The food donations is going to come to an end at the end of June. They're building up their membership drive. The people are signing up, and the memberships are still trickling in. They're working on an artwork book for sale, and they've ordered 75 of these books that I think they're selling for $20 or $25. And then depending on how those sales go, they may order actually more. The artwork is artwork by various senior center members that they've put together in a book. So, if you're interested, please reach out to them. There's outdoor classes and luncheons coming up, and there's the summer barbecue, which, if I'm not mistaken, is July 15th. That turns out to also be so we're all we're invited. I don't know who else is invited. And then they're doing something called a virtual travel club, which I think they're going to start in September, where you can so they depending on how much support they're getting in terms of whether they can get a sponsor or not. They're trying to open it up for everyone, or they're trying to just limit the number of members that are part of this. Yeah, so anyway, there's a travel club virtual thing going on. And that's it. Just it's business as usual for the senior center.
Okay, Vanu, thank you very much, Vanu. Councilwoman Dr. O'Connor, please.
Sure. I met with the Environmental Commission, and they were concerned about glyphosate. I think I got it right. And we want to make sure that it's not used on borough and school property. There had been an email that went out about to parents about having the kids not use the fields for a while because they were being treated with pesticides. And it was pointed out during this commission meeting that all of France is actually banning that key ingredient this year. So it's pretty dangerous stuff. We don't know if that's what was being used on the field, and I'll get to that in a minute. Also, another one of our members works with a group called Beyond Pesticides, and the idea would be to wean our town off of pesticides. There was discussion, I believe, that Chatham, New Jersey's work with a group to become pesticide free. And basically, the Environmental Commission has a few members that really want to explore this more deeply so we can pursue it with decision makers. So, the meetings will be pursued after more research is done, a meeting with the superintendent, because to deal with the school fields, and then, our own borough properties. So that was something that was really, of concern, and how we don't want that used in the community, the commission said. And then also another thing that was brought up was maybe having composting being promoted as a residential program. They had to do with, there's a lot of food waste, and some people came across an article. So food will go directly into their garbage rather than compost it. And Ridgewood apparently is now, there's an article in the Record about what they're doing for encouraging composting. So those are some areas that the Environmental Commission would like to be pursuing. So just keeping you in the loop on that.
Thank you for that. Can I throw something out there, since we're talking about the Environmental Commission and composting, which takes me right to, because I spend at least one day a weekend now at the recycling center, because I enjoy it there, actually, because I get to meet a lot of people. But one of the things I'm learning about over time is the amount of this fantastic topsoil we produce. And Jimmy, you're there, so this is something, for you to have a sidebar with also tomorrow with Mike Cassidy. There's some confusion about whether or not we're allowed to give this topsoil for our residents to just come and take it for free. We used to be able to do that, and now we've got some sort of real vague understanding or misunderstanding about the DEP saying whether that's okay or not.
Testing it or something before we have to take it.
Right. My point is, and Jimmy, please, we would like to find out whether it is okay or not. Because if the DEP is silent on the issue, then there's where these leaves, this topsoil is coming from the leaves that are coming from the trees in our community. So if these leaves are somehow contaminated, we've got bigger issues to worry about. And I'm not suggesting we do. So it's not making any sense. And so, Jimmy, I'd like to get clarity on why we simply can't let our residents take the topsoil. This stuff is like beautiful black dirt, and we're shipping tons of it out of the borough. And if we don't have like a definitive answer from the DEP, well, then the answer is yes, in the absence of regulations against it. So let's talk more about that offline, Jimmy. Okay.
No problem.
That's a real good point, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
I've gone there many weeks now wanting it. So yeah.
Yeah, we've got to get this one resolved.
Mayor, can I just throw in that in a couple months, we're going to have a significant amount of organic material that is going to be so incredible for planting and compost, the yard and everything else.
Right. So this is important. This is important. And people and the trucking company that's taking it away is taking it away fundamentally for free. And they're not doing it out of the generosity of their heart. They're doing it because it's valuable topsoil. So, okay, enough of my ranting on that topic. Council President Dayton, would you like to go next, please?
Sure, thank you. I want to start off actually acknowledging our police, our fire, and our TVAC for their attendance at this week's rally on behalf of Israel. And I want to thank the incredible work that they did to secure the Roosevelt Commons prior to anyone coming to attend, and the work, of course, to make sure it was peaceful, and it was. So thank you. And we met as the Senior Services Committee. We still need to nominate a new Senior Services chairperson, but we didn't have an opportunity because some of the members weren't there. An issue was raised, which I thought was very interesting. In this pandemic, the senior bus driver cannot accommodate those with walkers or canes. Typically, before the pandemic, the bus driver stopped and got out of his seat and helped the senior onto the bus. And now that is not able to happen. There's not 6 feet, and they really, the bus driver stays behind the plexiglass. And so those seniors that need a little help to get onto the bus are feeling like they can no longer use it. So I would like us to, work with Jimmy and work with our incredible senior staff, both Parween and Michelle, and Trish, of course, to figure out a solution here. And, we obviously can't afford to just have someone ride around on the bus to help someone, but maybe we could find a way to help residents with, wheelchairs, walkers, and canes on. That's the senior services. And we are still working on our age-friendly grant process. The Northern Valley Greenway met. there is an incredible opportunity from Senator Booker's office to get federal appropriation money for the project. We have to apply. It is due this Friday. The president of the Northern Valley Greenway, Andrew McKesh, is furiously working on this. We had hoped possibly Tenafly could be involved in the process of applications. It was confirmed today that we have to do it independently of our council. And so, that is underway. And then the last thing I want to report is the Tenafly Nature Center did a fundraiser for Photos by the Pond. There is still, I believe, an opportunity to do them. I better check with Deborah, but if you haven't had an opportunity to get up there, the trails are open, the new birds are in, the new aviary is lovely, and please go up and enjoy it. Tenafly Nature Center is in full bloom up there. That's everything.
Thank you, Council
And
President.
of course, I've mentioned Pride Day.
Yes, you did. Thank you. Thank you. Councilman Park, would you like to go next?
Just for everyone's calendar, the Rose Garden grand opening will be next Saturday, June 5th at 1 p.m. up at David Johnson Park. That's it.
That is June 5th, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., right? Okay. Got that. All right. Thank you.
Mayor, I'm sorry. I have one more.
Go ahead, please.
Oh, it was not necessarily mine. I wasn't sure if Dan would do it. So in TVAC, it has come to our attention that our ambulances don't have EpiPens. And I would like to reiterate the need for us to explore the concept of bringing on a medical director, which would allow us that life-saving measure, which is such a simple measure and so time sensitive when someone goes into anaphylactic shock. And so again, I want our borough to work with our TVAC, with JP Pedetto as the captain, and see if we can get a medical director in place so that something as simple as an EpiPen or even Narcan, which isn't on our ambulances, can be the case.
They're already working on that, and I don't think they're allowed to have Narcan, but that's something else. But they're already working on it.
And just Jimmy and I have a call tomorrow. We happen to be doing some homework on the whole medical director topic that we will report back to the council at the next meeting.
Thank you.
Okay. And I believe, Jimmy, isn't it correct that our police carry Narcan? I do know that.
Yes.
I don't know. I can't answer the question about whether the ambulance corps is allowed to, but Jimmy, let's at least get the information so we know what the facts are.
Yep, no problem.
Then we can deal with the issue of, once we know the facts of whether they should or not, and how it gets deployed and that sort of thing.
Yep, no problem.
Okay. Councilman Michaels, would you like to wrap up, please, the committee reports?
Sure. Super quick. Recreation, the team's doing a great job. I know there's not many spaces left for the camp. I know it's doing really well. So if there is any interest, please call quickly. Just need to say thank you again to the council, to Chairwoman Mary Beth Wilmette, Craig, David, Daniel, Councilman Grossman, for the revitalization. We'll get moving on that straight away. The only two other things, I think I've been telling you, just want to thank Councilwoman Dayton and actually Mark Aronson. We've been doing every week our giving out food to those in need. That ends actually tomorrow. We got it extended once, but it ends tomorrow. So I just wanted to thank Councilwoman Dayton, who had the pleasure of driving around the meals, and Mark Aronson, who's been doing it with us since we started back last March. So huge thank you to him. Only other thing, offer up to my fellow council people. I told you my New Year's resolution was to go to as many other towns' council meetings as I can to learn. I've shared with you the last time I did it in Norwood. I'm actually going June 7th to Old Tappan. Maybe Lauren wants to join me or others. So
ask them about their sidewalks.
I'm going to ask about the sidewalks. So if anyone wants to join me for that one, again, my goal is to hit all of the Bergen County towns so we can learn from other councils. That's all I
Adam,
got,
if it
Mr.
wasn't
Mayor.
June 7th, I would say yes. I might be a little busy on that day.
Positive mental attitude. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Michaels. All right. That concludes the committee reports. Now we're on to new business, introduction of ordinances. Councilman Grossman, would you like to make the motion on 21-12, please? You're mute. You're muted.
Saying I would, give me 1 second.
Take your time.
I always have a wonky computer.
It's all right.
I move to introduce and pass on first reading ordinance 21-12 and set the hearing for June 15, 2021 at 8 p.m. or soon thereafter in the Tenafly Municipal Center.
Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Omar, could you please read the title of the ordinance and conduct a roll call, please?
Ordinance number 21-12, an ordinance to fix the salary, wage, or compensation of certain management, administrative, civilian dispatchers, and part-time employees of the Borough of Tenafly and the County of Bergen in the State of New Jersey, calendar years 2020, 2021, 2022. Councilmember Dayton?
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman?
Yes.
Councilmember Menon?
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels?
No.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor?
Yes.
Councilmember Park?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We removed 21-13, so that concludes the new business. We're going to go on to mayor's remarks. I'll keep them short so I have more friends when I'm done. First thing, I want to thank Mr. Martini, who donated $2,000 to the Rose Garden in memory of his wife, Peggy. They're lifelong Rose Garden lovers, and so we want to thank Mr. Chuck Martini for that, and hope to see him up there very soon. So thank you, Mr. Martini. Second is, again, as Council President Dayton did, I want to acknowledge the peaceful rally in support of Israel that took place this past Sunday. There was about 1,500 people. I want to first I'll start by thanking the Borough of Teaneck, who provided us with a lot of the fencing and the safety apparatus to keep everyone safe there. So thank you to our friends over in Teaneck, and thank you to the DPW for making all the physical arrangements for the park, and of course the police, our police department, the sheriff's department, the rapid deployment team in Bergen County for being there or on standby to help keep things organized and peaceful. Thanks to everyone. I don't have any other mayor's remarks tonight. Thank you all for being here. If anyone would like to make a motion, we can adjourn.
So moved.
I thought for a second no one wanted to leave. Could I have the second, please?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I think we could do